right. Welcome back into the Ryan Ripken Show. Happy Thursday. I guess it's almost Friday. Truly, it is. We got a lot to talk about here on this episode. So it is the crossover time here. Football, baseball, it's obviously all back in session here. But we got to talk about specific things. There's been a lot of, words, comments, statements. Definitely a lot of worries from Birdland. We'll talk about the series up in Boston. We are having David Hall, our boots on the ground reporter down in Norfolk, to talk about a guy that everyone seems to have their eye on, and that is Sam Basayo. He'll join us soon. Hopefully this fire truck that's ever happening outside goes by quickly. But for the where was it going next? Then we're going to have another guest joining us, Nick Moore, Baltimore Ravens long snapper, going to join us and talk to us as we look ahead to week 2 of the NFL season. And then we got some spicy topics. We'll cover a little bit Maryland football as well and everything few and far in between. Who's in studio with us today, you might ask? Well, guess what? We got Kevin Ostreicher here on my right.
Good day, everyone. I'm excited to see where we go on the globe. You can see my desk is starting to get some life to it. We keep adding seemingly every show, but we'll go around the world and we'll learn some about a new country today. I'm excited for it.
I think that's what everybody has on their mind. Where is the globe spinning today? Well, making it spin from behind the scenes, Zach Bollinger.
It's hard to follow up, Kevin, because he always just says something that I just know, like, everyone's still processing. Like the globe thing, like everyone's still like, what's going, like no one's even going to remember that I got introduced because everyone's like, oh shit, Kevin's got a globe.
What? Or they're happy to see your face because they're like, what the hell did Kevin say? You know what is always wondering what the hell's going on here. He's our official cat herder of the Ryan Ripken Show, and he's usually behind the scenes with us. Let's bring on Mr. Brad. Brad, how we doing?
What up, fellas? I'm doing good, man. I am excited for tonight's football game.
First Thursday night. Well, technical Thursday, Amazon Prime style Thursday night game.
Yeah.
Where it's the regularly scheduled program. Yeah, it should be a good game. We'll talk about that for sure. For sure.
It's going to be a better matchup. I mean, you got Josh Allen and Tua. Like, it's going to be a great game. I hear there's some weather coming, so that could also be a factor, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes, we will get into all that in a little bit. And actually, we have a lot going on here. And hey, Tiger Town, hey, thanks for stopping by. It is the Tigers red hot in the American League here over the last month and a half. And they actually, ladies and gentlemen, have a chance at the postseason. And the Orioles got to face them 6 total games down the stretch. We'll get into that. And we have our first guest that's going to join us here, hopefully momentarily. But, guys, I actually wanted to talk about this since we didn't have a show yesterday. And I think it's just a perspective. I'm a guy that likes to sit here, Brad and Kevin and Zach, and I like to reflect, but especially on days you reflect a little bit more when you have to remember a certain moment in time in history that it means a lot to specifically people in this country, right? And obviously yesterday was September 11th. And I guess just the message for me is you guys were really young, obviously. Brad, you and I were older, and I remember exactly the day, what I was doing, where I was. And I feel like almost every American that was able to remember has probably a similar experience. And I think in the perspective in the sports world, we are passionate about teams and what we do, and we love to have a laugh. But it is a reminder that you never know what tomorrow holds, and you hope that nothing ever happens like that again. And I know the story with the red bandana pops up every single September 11th, and it should. But there's also a lot of other people there that in the face of terror and despair showed bravery and courage that I would only dream or imagine if I could ever have that in my lifetime. So perspective here for everyone, but I wanted to touch on that.
I was just going to say, Rip, sports also helped a lot of us Americans through that. I mean, George Bush, nobody's going to forget George Bush throwing that first pitch at Yankee Stadium, So there was so many things that sports can do to bring you out of some tough times. And it's just another example of that. So that's something else I'll never forget.
Yeah. I mean, the sports do help heal. And I think regardless, and look, I'm not here to be a political guy. That's not what I'm doing. But I think it's a reminder when I look at what happened on that day, you saw a lot of people that wanted to help others, do the best for someone else, to make a difference, even though there was all unknowns and it was for a greater good and a sacrifice. And that's something I try to hold on to in perspective here. I appreciate all of you, and I hope everyone, you can try to be kind to each other. I like to mess with Kevin and Zach. Of course I am. But at the end of the day, try to be good to one another. Try to be good to one another and try to do the best you can to lift others up around you. And never forget 23 years ago on September 11th. So I just wanted to open with that. Appreciate you all. And now let's dive into our regular programming here, because we got a full slate of action to talk about. And this first guest that we're having, he's been a recurring guest. He's actually more of a recurring guest than our co-host Rocco DeSangro. But it's our boots on the ground guy, our go-to guy, down covering the Norfolk Tides. Hadn't had him on in a little bit, but I think it's a perfect time because the Orioles have one of the top prospects there in San Basilio, and we could talk about some pitching situations. Our good old friend, let's bring on David Hall. David, there he is.
What's up, boys? I think I've inadvertently logged into a Home Depot meeting because all I see is a bunch of tools.
Oh, he's back.
Let's go.
He's back. Like, what type of
too, Dave?
Oh, David, we missed you, man. We missed you. Hey, what's been going on down in Norfolk since the last time we talked to you?
Well, football season started, so I've been to Columbia, South Carolina with Old Dominion. This past Saturday, they played a home game against East Carolina. Lost both of those. They were both close. They've got Virginia Tech this week. Already sold out, so should be fun. Has nothing to do with anything you guys talk about, but that's what's been going on.
Well, I mean, you right now, you and I were texting about it's the cross season now. You got to do a little bit of both. You got to be versatile, David, as people like to say, I guess, in the industry. Kevin, take notes here. But I think one thing, and we've been trying to get this for a while, David, is you texted me, a couple weeks ago, or it was a week ago, saying, man, I got a chance to do more digging on San Basilio, and he's in Norfolk now. So let's talk about that, because the catching position in Baltimore, I know a lot of people are looking ahead to that. I'm going to tell people to pump the brakes, but San Basilio, your first impressions of seeing one of the top prospects in all baseball.
My first impression was, oh my God, he's huge. He's a giant. He looks like a tight end, but he absolutely looks comfortable at the plate. I watched him take BP a few days ago, and he was hitting balls halfway up the scoreboard in right center, which is far. And it's a big video board. It's like the biggest one in the minor leagues. And I guess if that ball lands, it's 475, 80 feet, something like that. The ball's loud off his bat. He has not had a lot of success so far. He's hitting 177, struck out 20 times in 12 games with 3 walks, which is not good. And he would tell you that. But he's got a couple of bombs. The power's in there. And as the manager here, Buck Britton, said, the first thing when I asked about him, he goes, he's a monster. He's like, when he gets a hold of it, my God, like it's legit pull side power. He also plays a pretty good first base. And I think the long-term goal of the Orioles is to get him up there with Adley and have them split the reps at catcher and have Sam play some first base and some DH. And as Buck said, that way it's not, the entire workload at catcher is not on either one of them. And as you well know, catchers end up at first base. As I wrote, you can read it at pilotonline.com. In the story I did about Sam, Joe Mauer and Carlos Santana are just a couple of guys, prominent guys, who ended up at first. And catching will just kill you. And I've never met a sane catcher. I don't even understand how you do that for a living. But yeah, Sam, as big as he is, he has to do some different things. I was talking to Maverick Hanley, another catcher on the team, about how Sam at 6'4" has to, often catch on one knee. And that could impede his lateral movement, but it doesn't because he's so long. He can still get the balls.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, for people to get context of Mav, by the way, of Maverick. Love Mav. The height difference of Maverick and Sam is pretty drastic.
Yeah.
It's literally like Kevin and myself. Like there's a big drastic difference here in height. But I want to circle back to this, David. We're talking about Sam. It's loud off his bat and the power. Didn't he just hit an absolute nuke the other night that was like 450 feet or something like that? He did something that was just
he hit one in Jacksonville. Hang on a second, my phone's ringing.
Oh, hey now.
Must be breaking news.
This might be our first call into the Ryan Ripken show. Thank you, David.
He absolutely destroyed one. And he had just hit a home run distance ball down the right field line that was just foul. And then, as the announcer said in the clip, if you're going to hit a foul one, just hit one to right center. So there's no question. And it was a no doubter. And he's got a lot of those in him. He's the ballpark here is on the Elizabeth River, as you know, and beyond the right field fence is the river. And he's hitting balls that reach that river. And I haven't seen that much in my 11 years here.
And he's what? We just said he's 19 still.
He just turned 20 a month ago.
No longer
he's
a teenager.
20 and 30 days. So he's so old now.
Man, you know what?
Take him off the prospect list. I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Sitting in the minors forever.
It's tough. But you are talking about the plan, David, that the Orioles, I think that is the blueprint down the stretch here. And I'm with you that I don't know how long Adley's going to catch consistently for the O's. It's not that I don't think that he's going to be catching the next couple of years, but what is that time of being able to do that? It's taxing on your body. It is extremely challenging. And Sam Basayo, that's a guy I realized with the Orioles, or I never thought he would move anywhere, is because you see him as a long-term piece. And then hopefully that's where guys would transition to is the first base. But for all the ones that are calling for Adley to get less at bats, by the way, right? Sam Basayo is not coming up to Baltimore this year. And I'm glad you mentioned struggles here, David. I mean, this is natural. And you said, how many games so far has it been for
12
Sam?
games.
12 games. Okay. So it's a learning curve right now. And so the swing and miss element is something that you've seen. But correct me if I'm wrong, you have seen this with some of the other guys that have come through, some big top prospects.
Of course. I mean, that's the reason you move him up to AAA, especially as young as he is you want to challenge them and see how they handle it. I mean, Jackson Holiday went through that a little bit, not as extremely, but I mean, good Lord, it's 12 games. It's not even a high school season. So give the kid a break. He'll be fine. He knows what he's doing up there. And yeah, like you said, I don't think he's unanswered this season. And in fact, Buck Britton, in a rare piece of conversation, volunteered that, yeah, I don't think he's going up this year. I don't think that was ever the plan. But he can get his feet wet down here. And the difference, as you know, Rip, is that in AA, in rookie ball, A ball, high A, AA, you get a 3-1 count and you're looking for the heater. You get a 3-1 count here, the heater's not coming necessarily. They'll bend one, and you got to figure out how to deal with that. And I think that's what he's going through right now.
I think that's a great point because we're seeing it now more than ever that pitchers are going to throw off-speed pitches in hitters' counts. And you just mentioned 3-1, that's a hitter's count. 2-0, 2-1, 1-0, whatever you want to consider. Hitters want to be aggressive looking for a fastball, but nowadays you're not going to get that. And especially if I'm the pitcher and I know that Sam Basayo can hit a ball 900 feet, I'm not going to just groove one in there until he can prove to me that he can do some other things. Now, if they throw and they walk him, that's a whole different story. But it is good to understand. David, the other news, there's been a lot of banged up birds. That's kind of fair to say, right?
Really?
Just a couple, right?
One or two.
But I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, wasn't one of them Jacob Webb just spending some time down in Norfolk?
Yeah. So, David, Jacob Webb, obviously, I think it is 3. He's had 3 rehab outings in Norfolk, just kind of from what you've seen from kind of the first one to the third. Do you think he's a guy that is ready to make the jump back up to the majors. I know they weren't specifying when they were going to see him up back in the majors. They might have him go another time, but just kind of from your brief perspective, is it look like a guy who he's looking healthy, nothing's really bothering him, and it's kind of just about getting him back in his routine more than it is, oh, he doesn't look like he has the same stuff?
I think he has the same stuff. He has thrown 2 shutout innings here so far.
Yeah.
And I think he's one of about 4 guys who are probably in the conversation. I know Colin Selby, who's been up this year, has been getting a lot of high leverage opportunities late in games. He's been pitching back-to-back days, which often indicates that he's on the mind of somebody in Baltimore. Brian Baker's another guy getting back in time. He is not allowed any runs in 5 games. He's pitching every 3 or 4 days. And typically he's another guy they're putting in late. And he has not allowed a run for Norfolk since late May. And that's, of course, not all that time's been spent here, but I mean, that's a pretty good run. Brian Baker, like I said, just a guy. The guys they put in late are the guys they tend to be looking at. So, yes, Webb, Coulomb, Brian Baker, and who was the other guy I said? Selby. Yeah, they're all guys who I think are probably most in the mix for Major League time here down the stretch.
Is that how you kind of can tell as a reporter who covers the team, is the situations that they're used in, that, okay, this is a guy that the Orioles seem, the higher ups seem to want to move on, is, guys usually have a schedule? Because I feel like it's different in the majors than is the minor leagues. The majors, you're trying to get guys out there that can help you win that game, where in the minors, you're more trying to help develop these guys, get them into their rhythm. So is that kind of something you look for, is, okay, these guys are pitching back-to-back days, high leverage. They're clearly trying to see how he's reacting to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And depending on the manager at this level, that some of them will tell you, hey, we're going to start Smith. We're going to bring in Jones next. We're going to bring in Baker after that. And like they'll tell you, like it's scheduled. These guys know generally what nights they're going to pitch, unlike in big leagues where you just want the best guy out there. But yeah, the more they're pitching and the later in games they're pitching, I think indicates that they're on the brink in AAA.
Yeah, and the one thing to point out as well, when guys are on rehab and they want them to get their innings, they'll either throw them early so they can have that more set up of their rehab, because the big league guys always get the priority if they want to go that route. But other guys, yeah, David, you're exactly right with that, where they're going, all right, well, who do we want to see pitching more consistently, and who do we want to see in the moments where it's going to be most stressful? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, David, the season in Norfolk ends on the 22nd. Then it's it. So for Baltimore here, they're going to have some guys that aren't going to be going home. They're going to have those guys ready on a taxi squad and being ready to be called up. So those are names. I know then Danny Coulomb's going to be the other pitcher that the Orioles are hoping to get back. Fair to say, though, I think that Coulomb and Jacob Webb, when they are given the green light, are probably going to get the first go. I mean, Danny Coulomb had a 2.42 ERA. That dude he throws some
balls.
He does throw some balls.
Oh, well, I was saying balls out, but hopefully he doesn't.
That went a few different ways.
Yeah, no, I know. That's I know. I kind of jumped in at a weird time to just say
that. That's almost like in Kicking and Screaming, where what's their last name? He sells balls.
Yes.
You've got ball, and you've got
what
ball.
Is that?
What's his name? Do you remember, David? Do you know?
I do not.
Movie. Oh man, I know Kevin doesn't.
Yeah,
know.
don't even ask me. I don't know. I have no idea.
Kevin hasn't seen any movie in 25 years. So
nope. Saw one movie when I was 1 year old. Never again.
Tough.
Again.
I went I saw Perfect Storm in the theater in 2000. The next movie I saw in a theater was was Rocket Man, the Elton John movie, in like 2019. Wow. That's how long I went without going to the movies.
Oh,
I'm trying to think. When was the last time I went to a
theater?
Well,
movie theaters weren't really in style when you were growing up 5 years ago. So it's changed a little bit since then. I do miss going to a movie theater and getting a nice bag of popcorn and just enjoying it, going to see a film. But I do like watching from my couch. That's for a different time. There is one other pitcher, though, David, that we haven't talked about. And Brad, I'm surprised we haven't talked about it because his name's been brought up so much in Baltimore because of what didn't happen successfully. And that was, really being a key part of the rotation. And Brad, I think you know who I'm talking about here.
Yeah. So good to see you, Dave. Look, Trevor Rogers, obviously one of the biggest disappointments as far as the trade deadline is concerned. I mean, he was out on the 6th, 6 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. Two jacks were also given up that night. And so, is there something that you're seeing with Trevor Rogers down there that I don't know what in your mind was the organization kind of looking at in Trevor Rogers, especially seeing that he's also struggling down there in Norfolk?
Well, actually, his last outing had 9 strikeouts, so he's rebounded a little bit. I think with all pitchers, it's command specifically at this level. Mm-hmm. It's not just command; it's command within the zone. So it's one thing to throw your slider for a strike, but do you have it on the black? And that's the fine line between guys who pitch here and guys who pitch in Baltimore. And I think it's coming around. He's made progress. Certainly, he came over in the Stowers and Norby deal, and I think they just saw a lot of potential. They liked his velo, and if he can figure out that command within the zone, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and his velo, I think the part is he has the ability to get it back up, but it's been just kind of hovering recently from anywhere from like 89 to 92. Back when he was really like all-star caliber, it was almost like 93, 95.
Yeah.
And trying to find that consistently. But you made a great point again, David. When he was getting 2 strikes in Baltimore, then he had to make a pitch and have that slider or off speed or whatever he was going to do to put the batter away. He was leaving it in a very hittable part of the plate, and MLB hitters are going to make you pay. And on the other side of that, David, our guy Connor Norby is balling down in Miami. He's got 8 jacks. Actually, the Marlins are down in D.C. Got to see a friend of the show, Mike Bauman, as well. He's a good kid. Bauman's down there, Stowers, Norby. But David, it just feels
Christian
like
Pache
and Oriole legend Christian Pache.
Gosh, just like know the legends.
Yeah, I know. But David, I mean, Connor Norby, that one I know was hard for all of us to swallow that move because we knew what he's kind of capable of. It's early in his big league career, but I'll tell you what, he really does have the makings of looking like he's going to be a big leaguer for a long time.
Oh, did I call that or what?
You did.
I mean, I think I've been saying that on this show consistently.
He said he'd put butts in seats, and I'll tell you what he's doing in Miami right now.
Yeah, he is going to be a long-term major league good player, maybe even all-star caliber.
You know what we're going to do, David? We're going to get a collage of clips of you going, love Connor Norby. He's a stud. He's going to be great. And we're going to put that all together for a future time when you come on, and bingo. And it's going to be like, yep, David's been saying this for maybe when Connor Norby makes his first All-Star game next year for the Marlins, because they're still going to be competing. Maybe that will be the time, right?
I might be a little bit biased because Norbs and I grew up like 40 minutes apart, and he trains in the off season in Greensboro with a bunch of my old teammates from a collegiate league. His personal trainer was my catcher for like 8 years. So we just have all these connections and know all these same people. And he played at East Carolina, which I used to cover. And it's funny because East Carolina was here playing football this past week. I was talking with their sports information people about Norby. And they're like, what a great kid. I go, yeah, I was really glad I got to know him for a couple of years. But, obviously I wish him the best.
Yeah, it's everyone. It's all love. We just want to see the guys go out and live out their dream. And for a guy like Connor Norby, it wasn't going to be the opportunity in Baltimore. And now, Fat O's fan, I see you. And hey, how you doing? We'll get that tattoo figured out here in the future. David, we actually, for some of our subscribers, especially Fat O's fan here, said that when we got to 10,000, he would get a Ryan Ripken show tattoo. So we're working on trying to get my guy to come in to do it. He's out of town.
Nice.
But yeah, you know what? It's the love of the show here, David. But to finish with Connor Norby about no pressure situation, at least right now, I just want to see him play. And with the opportunity that he's had, a team that's rebuilding, it's a great chance. So I'm excited. David, it's been way too long. And we had you, and that's on me, and that's kind of on you, but mainly on me. But it's all love. But as always, where can people find the work? And you got to send me the links so I can get all the work that you're doing. Because, guys, I'm serious. If you want to know what's going on a day-to-day basis, David's seeing it constantly. And what I love is he'll text me and be like, hey, I got something good. And I know that recent story about Sam Basayo specifically is one. But what else you got cooking up?
Oh, well, we got the final homestand this coming week, and it coincides, fortunately, with a bye week for Old Dominion's football team. So I'll be able to spend some time over there. I'll talk to Sam a little bit more. I don't know what to call him. I asked him the other day, like, you prefer Sam, Sammy, Samuel? He goes, whatever.
Yeah,
he's a really relaxed, low-key kid who has the right kind of makeup for this. And regarding Norby in a no-pressure situation, no offense to anybody, all due respect to everybody, but I don't think there is a no-pressure situation in the major leagues. I think every day you go out there, there's inherent pressure internally. If there's not, you're in the wrong business.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's hard when you're fighting to prove yourself. It is a good point. When you're trying to make it in the bigs and prove that you're a part, you got to go out there and show it. But it looks like at least the Marlins are letting him get some opportunity, and he's been thriving. Last thing, David, you said that we're a lot of tools in the shed here. What type of tool am I then before I get out of here? If you're going to look at me as being type of tool,
well,
am I a wrench?
Mm-hmm.
You're engaged now, so you're no longer a hoe.
Oh,
Starts off with a zinger and ends with 1-2. I love it.
Oh my goodness gracious! Shirts and pants, David. I miss you, man. It's great having you on. Sometimes I got to get you back. It's on now.
Tell the people what I texted you after I learned you got engaged.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
I'm afraid.
That was hilarious.
I'm afraid to read it. Oh gosh.
Okay. Well, anyway, I never answered your question.
No, you know what,
Rocco.
David?
It was a Rocco joke.
It was. I heard you got engaged. You made Rocco a very happy man.
That was
Oh gosh.
I didn't answer your question. So people can look at pilotonline.com to find this work, and I will send you the link to the story about Sammy, and they can follow me at David Hall VP, as in Virginian Pilot, on Twitter /X. Come on, you'll be surprised how much stuff there is.
Yeah, and there's a lot. And you know what? We're gonna have some things for you next time. You just wait, David. But I appreciate you. And what?
I spared you my Ben McDonald impression because I got one.
Right. Well, we need that next time then, and we got to get Ben on for it. That'd be amazing. All right, David, be good. Take care of yourself. I'll bother you in about an hour and a half. All right.
All right, boys.
Appreciate it.
David Hall, everybody. What a friend of the show, friend of the program.
Without a doubt, every time we bring him on, everyone gets hyped.
I got absolutely hosed there.
Yeah,
pun
it's
intended.
my
You could
favorite
say
part.
you got hoed.
I got hoed. Oh, you like that, Kevin? Kevin loved that, Brad.
I love that. I love that David's getting so comfortable, like he feels like he's one of the boys. Which honestly, like I have no problem with. I literally love it.
Well, that's the thing is we want it. I love when we have that back and forth too. And in all seriousness, David's been great. Not only just for us, he loves what we're doing here, and he's got great articles out there. Like I'm not kidding. So go check it out. We'll post the link so you can see all of David's work. And he really does take the time to really get to see what's going on, the ins and outs. And I know a lot of people more than ever are loving what's happening in the Orioles organization, specifically with those prospects. Let's hit one more Orioles topic before we get on to the rest of the show. And it's got to be what happened in Boston. What's the saying for up in Boston? Park the car.
No, khaki. I went to school in Massachusetts for 9 months.
Yeah,
and so you park your khakis.
Park your khakis in the harbor.
Park the car.
in the habit. Well, guess
And
what?
they are very Dunkin' Donuts friendly. They're not
Huge.
Starbucks. No
Huge.
Starbucks. That's why
Yeah.
I learned Starbucks is a curse word up there. You got to go Dunks.
Really?
Runs on Duncan, baby.
I'll tell you what though, I'm more of a Starbucks guy than Dunkin', but I like Dunkin'. Don't get me wrong.
Don't go to Boston.
If I want a donut and a coffee, well, you're damn right. I'm going to Dunkin' Donuts. It's fantastic. But I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, not a great trip for the Orioles to Boston, right? It could have been better, could have been worse. But I think it's not necessarily the play on the field that is being talked about. It's kind of been the post-game questions that have been asked to the players, right? What's going on with the Orioles? How's morale? Cedric Mullins had a quote there the other day. Dean Kramer said something as well after last night's tough loss. And by the way, the Orioles would have a different tune. They had a chance to win the game. They lose a heartbreaking one in Boston in extra innings. And on top of it, the Yankees then win a toe-to-toe heavyweight bout with the Royals. So it was very, very brutal for O's fans last night. But guys, I laugh because that Dean quote got a lot more traction than I anticipated.
I think more than Dean anticipated.
I think no doubt about it. But because the quote is, Dean was asked why the Orioles haven't been able to get on the same page. And he says, I wish that was my job to tell you, but that's not my job. My job is to go out there and pitch. That's a question for the higher-ups, the guys who make the decisions of who plays, who doesn't play, and all that stuff. So I wish I could tell you, but I got no answer for that. And that clearly got a little bit of fire because people took it 100 different ways. I laughed because I read it as how Dean would talk. So when I was what Dean was essentially how I took it was he was just trying to say, hey, I just got to focus on, being the best pitcher that I can be. I don't make those decisions, right? But then Cedric Mullins' quote the other day about morale, Zach, right? That was the quote about saying it's not.
He said it's not awesome, but it's not horrible. He said they just have to focus on getting things back on track. He didn't say anything that no one, we kind of talked about this pre-show. With these quotes from the players right now, it's just a lose-lose scenario because when people, if Cedric comes out and says, oh, everything's great, things are going well, we'll get back on track.
People will be pissed.
People would be up in arms like, is he ignoring what's going on? Can he be real with himself? Like, what's he doing? Then he goes, it could be better, it could be worse, but we'll figure it out. And people are like, Cedric Mullins thinks the Orioles are done.
Yep.
Like it's just
you cannot win with it. But also the reason why it's getting brought up is because the Orioles last 2 months have been a 500 team or slightly below 500. It's not just the Orioles. Again, I want to emphasize that. It's a lot of other teams. But with the Orioles now trying to have the race against the Yankees and you're trying to keep up with them, games like last night hurt. They hurt because of how it happened. And errors are going to happen. But the one thought I'd have for a team is if you're not feeling the best morale-wise, injuries, when you have so many, can bring morale down. But how you lose can bring it down. And defensively for Baltimore, it's been rough. And I've told you guys this before. If you're going to have some struggles pitching and hitting, defense kind of has to be your sounding piece, right? And it hasn't been for Baltimore. You go back and look, they were the 5th best defensive team in all of baseball last year. And last time I checked, they were 12th or 13th in baseball. And there was a lot of games we can go back and look at and go, well, man, that could have helped. Now, I understand with the error, Tyler O'Neill goes deep anyway. It's a 2-run shot. They win. But again, maybe it's a different circumstance how you pitch Tyler O'Neill in that situation.
I think they would have walked him.
And they probably would have walked him. I think that's a fair assessment.
Although people are assuming that they're going to walk him, it still is just weird to me. Like, I understand analytics. I get all that. As a baseball guy, even if Jackson gets that out, people are like, oh, then they just automatically walk Tyler O'Neill. I cannot I don't care what the analytics say. I can't wrap my head around putting the winning run on first base.
Well, then what's the organizational philosophy then?
Yeah.
Because their philosophy all year has been analytics. And so if the analytics are saying, well, O'Neill crushes lefties, go walk him. I mean, have they now shifted their philosophy away from analytics and they're just saying, go out there, play ball?
Mm-hmm.
And again, we talk about it. It's not just a Hyde thing, not just an Elias thing, not just a Sig thing. This is an organizational thing.
It's what they believe in.
It's
what they built
everything.
this for.
But now my question is, what do they believe in? So it's an interesting angle to me.
It's an interesting angle, and I'm with you. I never like to I never like to put the run on, but Tyler O'Neill is outside of Devers and Duran. He's had a phenomenal year for Boston. That dude is slugging. If you guys remember the first time the Orioles played the Red Sox, Corbin Burns threw a pitch in there, and Tyler O'Neill, it left the yard, left the monster. It went on the backside of Fenway Park. So there's a lot of different thoughts you can go with, Kev. And I think for Baltimore, what it comes down to is when you aren't playing clean baseball, then it puts you in a position that can be a little bit more tense or stressful. We don't know what the Orioles would have done, but we do understand that they have had things in the past situationally of not executing as well as they could. When they've won the game that they won game 2 of the series, what do you think they did well, guys, situationally? I talked about it last night on 105.7 The Fan, which I know you guys tuned into. Right?
Every time.
Obviously.
So I can recite it word for word.
To the window, to the wall, Kevin.
Yeah.
What would be a thing that I would say situationally with the Orioles offensively?
They didn't hit great with runners in scoring position, but with the bases loaded, Adley came through.
Oh, and how many outs were there?
2.
Oh, the Orioles in that 5-3 victory had 4 2-out RBIs. Cedric Mullins' home run, Adley Rutschman's 3-2 little, change up and a pow the other way, right? Little things like that. 4 2-out RBIs for Baltimore, and they win the game. I'm not joking when I say that. Those little, you can say runners in scoring position. It comes down to executing with 2 strikes, and it also comes down to giving clean outings for you. What happened yesterday for Dean? One of Dean's runs scoring
Errors.
So throwing error is an infield hit, right? It got deemed infield hit, but it was a throwing error.
It was deemed an error. It was deemed an error, I think, on the wrong person, but.
Right. But error allowed the run to score.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Would have been out of the end.
So again, it goes back to this to me is people can complain at the later part. When we had Q in here breaking down football the other day, right? Mm-hmm. Of going, here's some fundamental moments of what could have been better. For Baltimore, everyone wants to look at Keegan Aiken giving it up. And yeah, that doesn't feel good. That's tough. But how about we don't make the errors? How about we play clean baseball and give your team a better chance to win? That's where I look at it for Baltimore. I think they're going to figure things out offensively. Adley had a pretty solid series, 4 for 14, hit in each game. But man, the thing that there's one thing that continues to hurt is defensively. The Orioles defensively have not been consistent. And that actually bothers me more because of all the things, that's what you can control more. Is how you are defensive. You guys want to guess who was the top 2 defensive teams? And then that's my last point. Last year. Last year, and currently they were the number 1 team this year.
I'm going to say the Diamondbacks.
And who was number 2 last year?
Oh, it was the Diamondbacks. Was it the Rangers?
Boom.
Damn, I did not know the Rangers were doing defensively like that.
Damn. So, look. Brad, you've heard this. O's can get hot. Any team can get hot at the right time. It's all a moot point until we see what happens with the postseason. But
yeah, I mean,
we go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we talked about this earlier, but I feel so bad for Dean because all he does is throw gems and can't get it up.
When he's pitched,
you look
really
at
well.
his stats on paper, and you start to look around at the wins and losses, and obviously, wins and losses aren't everything, but. I would love this. What was the stat that he had talked about, and then you and I talked about with John and Tyler Wells? John means was it FIP?
FIP, yeah.
Yep, FIP.
Yeah. We'd be curious to see what Dean's FIP number is.
I think, did Dean say he doesn't have a great FIP or he's middle of the pack?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think Dean's somewhere in the middle here in general. But for Dino, it's a good point. Dino's actually quietly, I think we need to hit Dean in the arm more. I think we should do it. I texted him that this morning too. I said, Dean, let's get another 103 right off the arm. And he goes, please don't. Please no. And I go, okay, well, you just keep pitching well. But if you look at Dean's numbers so far, yeah, you guys might think that this is, the one game against the Rockies was 3 1/3, 4 earned runs. He's only had 1 outing since July 14th where he's given up more than 4 runs. since July 14th. So he's had multiple games of giving up one or fewer. He's having a really solid second half here of the season. But again, defense does matter. One question we'll answer, and we'll move around Maryland here. Sam, you say, Rip, how does this relatively same O's team go from the best with runners in scoring position to middle of the pack, trending downward? How's the relatively same defense go so bad in just 1 year? I think part of that is Gunnar Henderson is playing shortstop for the first time for a full season. And I believe Gunnar is your long-term answer at shortstop, but I don't think he had enough reps there consistently to be comfortable on an every day. You got to remember, who was the shortstop playing a lot of games there last year? Gunnar did play. It was Jorge Mateo. Mm-hmm. So, yes, Gunnar did play more shortstop down the stretch, but it wasn't all on him and thrust upon him. The other expectations and pressures, plus you got a young second baseman in Jackson, plus you've had a lot of a merry-go-round now without having Jordan Westberg.
I think that's the biggest issue.
And that's you lost Mateo and you don't have Westberg. I think those are two pieces that are very, very important for your defensive pieces. Hitting-wise, there are certain things I'd like to see. There's just a different philosophy of the game nowadays. But to me, and the Orioles, that's why I compared it to Texas, and people go, Ryan, wait a minute. How could they be compared to Texas? Texas hit a ton of home runs last year. Texas, when you saw them in the playoffs, it looked like it didn't matter where it was pitched. Garcia was hitting a home run every damn time. And Corey Seager was unbelievable. Then you had, was it Garver last year in the playoffs?
Well, Garver hit the big one, but then who was the rookie? Who?
Wood, or was it Wood?
No. Why am I? It's
Carter. Carter.
Evan Carter. I want to say Evan Turner, but
I was gonna say. I started thinking of Pirates of the Caribbean there of Miss Turner. You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. I don't know why. Kevin, no, you haven't seen it. But to finish the point, the Orioles can get hot. So I think right now they're not executing because with 2 strikes, they're not putting the ball in play. And so whether it's saying concentration, plate discipline, philosophy, whatever it is, they're not doing it right. But they could be like Texas, and in the playoffs, things come together and they get a breath of fresh air and they do what the Rangers did offensively. So I think we leave it with that. I think that's something that I want to just touch on. A lot can happen here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not harping on the Orioles losing the series, but you better be ready for Detroit. Detroit is the only team that is not in the playoff picture right now in the American League that could be. And Detroit is the one team that you probably need to be the most aware because they have been one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in the AL over the last month and a half. So should be fun. The Orioles got 6, but they are avoiding Scoobel at the moment.
Actually, and as we say that, the Colorado Rockies just beat the Detroit Tigers 4-2.
Oh, there you go.
Rockies getaway day. So
boom.
Stall the momentum, Colorado. Stall the momentum.
Stall the momentum. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show here. We're live every Monday and Thursday. We try to have a tip-off at 3 p.m. Guys, I think we should do our little trip then around Maryland. Not on the globe yet, Kevin.
I was ready.
You were ready.
Maryland first. All right, Maryland first.
We're going to go around Maryland here on our Adams Jeep of Maryland. And it's sunny in here, so you got to put the glasses on so you can drive.
Atta baby, Kevin.
Kevin, that's way better.
Yeah, you're kind of
we're getting there.
You're putting way too much shoulder into it.
No, good.
Kind of look like you're driving a bus, but that's okay.
Yeah,
well,
I like it.
You're driving. That's it.
Jeep bus.
The Jeep bus, but Adams Jeep of Maryland up in Aberdeen, 5 minutes down from the Ironbird Stadium. Proud sponsor of the Ryan Ripken Show. Have so much more planned with them. If you go up there and you buy a used car and you say the phrase Rocco sucks or you love the Ryan Ripken Show, you'll win or you'll receive $1,000 in gas money or gas card for buying a used vehicle up there at Adams Jeep. But they do detailing. They have all the services. Brad can attest. They took care of him. Brand new tires. The Gladiator's looking fresh. Adams Jeep of Maryland is the destination for you. And also, if you just want to say Rocco sucks, it's fun. Just go right on up there. No one likes to hear it more than Chuck and Matt. I can guarantee you that. Guys, let's go into this then. In Maryland, We know that obviously the Orioles are up in Detroit. Got an off day today. Ravens Sunday are playing a game. And we did talk last week, guys, about what's going on down in College Park here for the University of Maryland. Well, guess what? It was a tough loss in week 2 for them of the season, second game of the season. Now they go to an ACC former rival, I should say. Go to UVA, guys, playing the Virginia Cavaliers in a game. Once again, they should be considered a team to win this game. It's Saturday at 8 p.m. But I feel like that's something that's not necessarily a guarantee. Not a lot of people in College Park were feeling great because of the loss to Michigan State. But once again, you're going to have an opportunity. And for Maryland, Zach, this is a good opportunity. We talked about their schedule in the past. They should be favored to win this game. And ultimately, if they execute well enough, they should take care of Virginia.
Yeah, they're 2.5-point favorites going into this. They need to bounce back. Let's call it what it is. Say it how it is. Maryland needs to win this football game. If you drop this game, suddenly some things tensions start rising. Seats start getting a little hot in College Park, I think. But talk about, you don't want it to be this massive of a game this early. But it's hard not to sit there and think after a tough loss that you felt like you had in your hands in Michigan State, you go to kick a field goal to go up 10 points under 5 minutes. You miss it. All of a sudden, you're sitting in overtime. You lose in a heartbreaker in overtime. This is a game. Not only do you want to see Maryland win, you want to see win convincingly. Go to Virginia, win by 2 scores, get some sort of momentum, because we talked about how honestly the schedule, it's going to be tough. You're playing in a few weeks. You got USC in College Park, which is going to be electric. You got Oregon now. Like,
you got a tough schedule.
You got a real tough schedule.
You're in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And you have to go to Penn State. You got to play Iowa. We're the first team to 7 wins, but that could be a problem, right? So it's the Big Ten, even though it's the Big 16, whatever the hell it is. You got to take care of business, and hopefully this Terps offense can get a little freaky. Get going, put them away, and feel good. You know what I mean, Kevin, about getting freaky?
Well, I know one person who does.
That's a great segue.
Boom! Look at that.
So, someone did get freaky here, guys, and we'll touch on this before our next guest, Nick Moore, joins the show. Saw some things in the comments, Brad.
There's a poll out.
There's a what is the poll out right now?
Well, there's got to be context to this, right? So if you guys didn't see the news or you live under a rock yesterday, Shannon Sharpe inadvertently went live. I don't even know how he did this, but he went live by accident on IG while he was getting busy, and it went everywhere. He actually ended up owning up to it on the Nightcap show, and we're going to react to that in just a moment. But I did ask the poll here, should Shannon Sharpe keep his job after going live on IG while having sex? And actually, I'm a little bit surprised by this. There's a 60-40 split. 60% of you guys so far are saying that no, it was a mistake and he owned it, and 40% saying yes, people were canceled for less so far on that poll.
I will agree for that. People have been canceled for less. Should we play the clip then, and then we'll react on the other side of what Ocho Cinco and Shannon were talking about?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's play it.
As someone that is extremely private, the audio heard for the entire world to hear. People count on Shannon, Shay Shay Media Club, Shay Shay Nightcap, ESPN, and I always try to be professional, even when I'm behind closed doors. I'm very disappointed in myself, not for the act, but for to have the audio to be heard. My kids called them, I called my sister, but guys, this was not staged. Came in, I threw my phone on the bed, gazed in an activity. All of a sudden, people are calling me, Shannon, you're on IG Live. They can hear. I'm like, doing what? Like you were having sex. Man, my heart sank. It dropped. I said, I just got to tell them the truth. My phone wasn't hacked. It was me being active. I can't lie. I be on these sparks hard. Phone ring. Cat Williams. You ain't gay today?
We human. We all partake in horizontal and vertical activity. You're not very good at technology. You've done it to me. I was upset, but then I also remembered you're not very technically savvy, but the fact that it was a Michelle and not a Michael, that's my dog.
Oh my goodness. It was so a couple things there. What I do appreciate with Shannon Sharpe is he didn't make any excuses. He's like, yep, that was me. I own up to it. I will say, I think the other part of this, it does help that there's only an audio format, which
very much that
if
probably
talking
saved him.
Probably why you still would have a job is if that was a video format, Kevin, if that was movie theater-esque.
Well, being a Nuggets fan, I will never forget the day that I woke up and I had 10 friends either call or text, and they said, "What's your guy Jamal Murray doing?" I said, "What are you talking about?
Bad.
What are you talking about?" And if you talking video form, that was
video form.
I didn't expect to see what I saw that day.
So it feels like a moment though for Shannon. You know what? I'm glad he owned up and said he was disappointed, because he also, what I love this is, I'm not disappointed in the act.
Yeah, he wasn't apologizing for the act. That's what I thought was the best too. Like he owned up to that, but he was very unapologetic about, getting it in, which he shouldn't be.
He was sorry that it went live. He was sorry that his kids had to
That's the part right there where the whole world gets to see your private life, but specifically your family, your kids. That's where it goes. The quote "engaged in an activity" in there actually is absolutely hysterical. Engaged in activity. He's not wrong. And you know what? He's an adult. He can make adult decisions. But
good for him.
Man, that was tough. But then he flipped the switch after the apology. Yep, I feel disappointed. I'm sorry that's the way it happened. And he's run with it. And I think there's only a few people that can actually get away with saying, "Yep,
he's one of them."
Yep, I was I was doing like a couple extracurriculars, and and they were making fun of his cardio after it and all of that. And hey, but you know what? Props to Shannon. Props to Shannon for owning up to it.
I will say
the
internet's just incredible, because some of the memes that come out of it immediately, like Shannon interviewing Shannon on Club Shay Shay, like all those ones, it's like coming tonight. Like all of those, like the internet acts so fast. And sometimes I get so jealous because I'm like, this is brilliant. Like, why couldn't I have come up with this?
It was absolutely incredible. I just, and the viewers are coming in. I'm actually really surprised. It's actually starting to even out here, almost 50-50 on people who think he should lose his job versus not. If you do think that Shannon Sharpe should no longer be on First Take on ESPN, which, by the way, he wasn't on today, isn't on tomorrow, but that's his regular schedule. And according to sources, he will be back on Monday for First Take. So it'll be interesting to see what the dynamic is between Stephen A. Who else is on that show? Is it going to be Kmart? Who's it going to be? Because, they can't just let this go. I don't know if you guys saw, but Ryan Clark actually put out a tweet about how, before Nightcap came on, about how Nightcap was going to be lit. And so, there's already ESPN folks, making fun of the situation. So either way, I thought the way that he handled it was his best. It was as good as he could have. And he handled it in typical Shannon Sharpe fashion.
Yeah. And they're definitely going to jab him for it on Monday. No doubt about it. Probably a little bit more courteous on there, because there's certain, on the networks which you can't say. That's why with Nightcap, with him and Ocho Cinco, they weren't holding anything back. Also, that people were speculating online that a former ESPN employee, Michelle Beadle, that they thought it was her because the name Michelle, and she tweets out,
"It wasn't me.
It wasn't me."
That was because out of context, you have no clue. She just tweets out, "It wasn't me." Like, that was it. That was the tweet. Word for it. It wasn't me, and everyone's like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, and
wasn't Michelle on air anyway? Because she does the radio show with Beadle and Decker on Mad Dog.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, just that's where the internet just goes nuts.
Yeah.
That's the part of it that's so funny, that she had to then, because people were speculating, that's where it is. Don't you love
everybody's talking to any Michelle they know,
Yeah. Who has, but you know what? Not that for the world to hear, but in their own private time, I hope they had a good time. But everyone knows about it. I hope that they had a good time, good kids. But is also a good kid. Why don't we bring on friend of the show, friend of the program here, our good old Pro Bowl, future Pro Bowl long snapper, Mr. Nick Moore. Let's bring on Nick. There.
Come on.
There he is.
Guys, how's it going?
Hey, Nick. You know, we
Let me see if I can turn here.
It's okay. You look good though, bud. Oh, there it is.
That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. All right. Sorry. Sorry,
Hey,
guys.
Nick, you might have just heard at the end, Shannon Sharpe, just some good old, fun after hours. Just a reminder, that's why you struggle with your Instagram, and that's always for the best. I think, just to say the least.
I don't have it on my phone, so that won't happen to me.
That will not happen to you. Great.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
We learned a lot. We learned a lot.
Yes. I think everybody learned a lot.
Everyone learned a lot. But hey, Nick, how are we feeling? Actually, I want to start this off. You were a kid in a candy store here, first game. How did it feel being back on the field for the first time in since 2022?
Well, January of 23 technically, but I felt like it was my first game. I was pretty nervous. Obviously, big environment, big game. Opening game against the Chiefs, first game of the NFL season. And there was a lot of external factors that, definitely drove some anxiety up that I haven't experienced in a long time. And, I just hadn't been out there in a long time. And I was excited to get out there. It was like Thursday was the longest day of my life. So I was happy to get out there. Personally, I played pretty well. So I was very happy with my performance. Unfortunately, we did not, we were inches away from winning the game. So, but other than that, I feel like for first game back, I wouldn't have rather have played in any other game. Knock all the cobwebs off on the first one, biggest game of the year, biggest opponent we're going to play. Like it was great. So I was super glad for that, and I'm excited for the next one.
Yeah, it really was. It was the matchup everyone has been talking about since the schedule came out. It was the one just circling. And of course, there's going to be a lot of big moments, but that was the game that the NFL fan was looking forward to. That place looked like it was rocking. It was an unbelievable game. But the biggest thing is I love the fact that personally for you got to be back out there with the boys, help the team try to do your job to ultimately have them get a win, literally by a centimeter. Can we get a little perspective on your angle on the touchdown that wasn't a touchdown and called back? Like, were you just going nuts?
So I was obviously couldn't see the toe from the sideline from where I was at. All I saw was Zay catch it, come down with 2 feet in the end zone. I was like, all right, now my next objective is to figure out if we're going to go for 2 or kick the PAT to tie it. So I was focused on that. And then obviously with the review and everything like that, it is what it is. We're an inch away from going for 2 and potentially winning that game. So, everything happens for a reason. So I think we'll be okay.
Nick, real fast. So you didn't know if you were going for 2 or not. It wasn't something because I know sometimes coaches will be like, hey, if we go and we score here, we're going for 2. Was that just kind of, you think, maybe he knew, but he did not let you guys know, like, hey, if we score here, we're going for 2 no matter what? It was kind of as soon as it happens, that's when you guys found out, like, hey, they're going for 2.
Harbs has always done a really good job of getting the feel of the players. I know I remember in 2021, we had a couple instances where a very similar situation, scored touchdown right at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And we went for 2 both times. Unfortunately, it didn't work out either time, so we lost both those games. But he does what the players want to do, and the players are aggressive. So Lamar was like, "We're going for it." Guys on the sideline were screaming, "Let's go for it!" So there was no doubt in anybody's mind that we were going to try to win that game right there, and things didn't work out that way. So.
Yeah, and that's what happens. But I think the other part is you got to be prepared no matter what. Because say hypothetically, they go for 2 and they get it, and then holding it gets called back. And unless you're the Detroit Lions, where you're going to go for it for 2 from the 12 or the 15,
we weren't going to do that.
Yeah, biting people's that's still people's kneecaps off. Dan Campbell, that guy, I love that guy.
I will never forget they asked him about it, and he said, "I told the guys we were going for 2." And that meant from anywhere. And I was like, good on you, because I would have kicked it.
But for you, Nick, you got to be locked in for that moment.
Yes.
So it's just a perspective being like, all right, we're going for 2, but if something goes wrong, I got to be ready to rock and roll But it was an exciting week one, and obviously you're trying to bounce back. It was an exciting week overall, Brad. And we just were talking before about just in general the impact the kickers have. It was a pretty eventful first weekend in the kicking world.
Yeah, Nick, what's going on, my man? I was looking through some of the statistics. 21 of 23 field goals were made from 50 plus yards. And in fact, during the Cowboys game, which I'm sure you probably saw, Aubrey actually made a 66 yarder, didn't count because of the timeout, or sorry, because of the penalty. And I think Aubrey was trying to go for a 71 yarder, but didn't end up going for it. So my question to you would be like, have you been paying attention to any of that? Like, what's going on with these kickers this already starting off this year incredibly well? Do you think this is kind of a trend where we're going to see more field goals like this season?
I mean, we've seen, Boswell had a really good game for Pittsburgh, and Moody had a really good game for San Francisco. There was, it's early in the season. Offenses aren't quite as good as they are towards the end of the year. Maybe coaches are more willing to try longer field goals because the weather's nice, and you're really trying to get a feel for the identity of the team. So there was definitely a lot of kicks that happened this past weekend that maybe wouldn't be able to happen in December and January with the weather and stuff like that. Or, you don't want to risk missing a 58-yard field goal if you got to win to make the playoffs, that kind of thing. So, coaches are more willing to try that stuff early on in the year. And like I said, offenses aren't quite as gelled as they will become. So there's always those attempts out there. And, I thought guys played really, really well. I think even on our unfortunate miss that we had, I think Justin hit a really good ball. Just kind of tailed a little bit to the left at the end, and we, just obviously slightly missed it wide left. But I still think it was a really strong ball, and I'd take that swing, that hit every day of the week. We just love for it to stay on its original trajectory. But no, a lot of kickers had some really, really good weeks, a really good week this past weekend. So I was excited to see that. You always love when the specialists do well. You would love to score a touchdown if you're offense. So. But anytime you can get points on the board in the NFL is a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, your first attempt of the year was, I forgot who said it, Kevin or Zach, of being like, well, hopefully it's –
Nick was over here he's like, get the first punt out of the way. I was like, let's get in the end zone first drive. Like, let's start this come up back in the extra point category.
And it was.
Glad we did.
It was an extra point.
Glad we did.
Great first drive.
We looked unbelievable on that first drive. Oh, man. We just got to replicate that every drive, and that'd be awesome.
Yeah, Nick, just every single time.
Yeah, every time we get the ball.
Touchdown, every single time. It's that easy, right?
Nick, I texted my friend who's a diehard Titans fan as soon as Derrick Henry got in the end zone, and I just said, I get it. Like, for all those years that you were just like King Henry, I was like, I understand. I was like, this is magical. I was like, watching him tote the rock, incredible.
Yeah, he's a special player, so I'm glad he's on our team.
I am too. He's honestly, if you were a running back, Nick, I say that'd be a good comp for you. Would be Derrick Henry.
I think so too.
Against Kevin Ostreicher, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean,
we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it going, and we're gonna Derrick Henry, aka Nick Moore, versus Roquan Smith, aka me, and we'll get it going.
Are you going to try to lower your shoulder like Lamar did out there on the field this game?
Hey, I could. It's not going to go very well for me, but I could.
Hey, I love that. Lamar was throwing, even trying to truck stick some people.
Hey, Kevin. First of all, Kevin's not lowering his shoulder. His shoulders are already low enough.
I already have the level. Going for me.
He's got good pad level already. Lamar definitely was. I think he, a lot of guys expect him to maybe step out of bounds, and I think he moves so well that it's hard to tell what he's going to do, and he catches him with a surprise and lowers his shoulder a little bit and kind of sets the tone for everybody else on our team. So, we love to see him get out of bounds, but if you get the extra yards on that last drive, I mean, he fought for some pretty significant extra yards on a couple of those runs that he had. So we love to see that.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is like watching that just from my perspective, like that fired me up, like just watching him do that. And, there was all this conversation about like, oh, well, he lost the weight and he's feeling more agile and everything. No, he was, the physicality was there for him. And I mean, you saw him on the sideline firing up the offensive line and saying, come on, guys, let's go. We got it. I mean, For you on the sideline, Nick, does that like fire you up, fire the team up when you see Lamar going out there and asserting his physicality like that?
Yeah, I mean, he set the tone on that last drive. I think he had a couple scrambles. I mean, he ran the ball really, really well in the game for us. And I mean, I think he had like 122, 130 yards, somewhere around there. And you know, they've been talking about it all offseason that he's losing weight. He's at this, that, he's too small, whatever. And I think he answered all those questions by showing he's not afraid. And the extra 5 pounds that he might have lost, he put on his muscle, and he was able to lower his pads on some of those guys and get that extra yards that we needed on some of those to get the first down and keep the drive alive. So I love seeing that on the sideline. Anytime 8 does anything like that, I'm all for it.
I think everyone is. I think that Lamar's in for a huge year, and I know people can try to look at some plays, and we know like people are going to make mistakes. So they're going to want some back. Like I know one we were looking at that 3 plays before the end. Lamar had a chance at likely kind of overthrew it out of bounds. Like it happens, but Lamar did. He was doing almost everything. I don't even know what the total yardage was for him again in that game, Kevin. It was approaching almost like 400 some total yards, close to it for Lamar alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like the dude was just making things happen. I mean, that fires me up seeing it. I can only imagine for you, Nick. We're going to need you in here eventually down the road for a couple of reasons. One, I want to break down what happened in some games here with you. Also, what happened in the preseason. How's your putting? I know it's not as good as mine.
My putting is pretty good. Okay, some would say that's the best part of my game.
I don't. You know what? Now you're just lying to me and the audience because that is not what I saw.
Some people would say that that's the best part of my game, and that's the reason I'm a 6 handicap.
Oh my. Okay. All right. Hey Nick, I actually golfed yesterday, by the way, and I had 4 pars on the front. 4, and I bogeyed 3 holes on 3 putting. So that felt great.
Yeah.
My putting was not par, but you know, Gridiron Golf there, if you can show the big screen, right behind there, behind the
I see it.
Yeah.
Any day of the week, you guys want to do a putting challenge, let me know.
Oh goodness. Well, really, the days for us to be with you is Monday or Thursday. So we'll figure it out, Nick.
We know
we'll do it. We'll do it live on the show.
Live. Anything? Hey, we'll let you go here, Brad. Any final words for our friend here, Nick, Mr. Nick Moore?
No, man, it's just good to see you as always, brother. And would love for you to come into the studio. And next time you're at Italian Disco, you could just give us a ring.
Just pop over, huh? We were down there for Coach Jody's funeral right there in Little Italy at St. Leo's. So we just we popped over to. We were going to go to Tagliata. Didn't realize that the kitchen was closed between 2:30 and 4. So they recommended we check out Italian Disco, and really good. Honestly, it was really good food. The pizza was phenomenal there. So I might have to go check that place out again.
It's Baltimore's best kept secret. We always tell everybody that. Like Zach is all about the spicy honey chicken sandwich there.
Banger. It's incredible.
Oh, I haven't had that one. I should check it out. I went more of the Italian route because it's called the Italian Disco.
Yeah.
It is.
Pizza and mozzarella sticks, and I got my wife some spaghetti bolognese.
Oh.
Yeah, we kept it Italian.
Italian.
We had to do one for Jody. So
hell yeah,
Italian guys. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that the service went well. I'm sorry that the Ravens lost the first game, but we're excited about what's happening. I'm glad you got to be back out in the field. You're a good kid, Nick. I'll let you go with the rest of your day. And
I'll finish with this. I will say there's a lot to be excited about from that first game. I know we didn't win, but I thought we looked really good, especially in the second half and the fourth quarter. So for the Ravens fans, there's a lot to be excited about coming in 2024. So check us out on Sunday against the Raiders.
Hell yeah. So
Couldn't agree more.
A recap, Nick Moore says the season is over in 2024. But Nick Moore, appreciate having you on.
Thanks,
hey, be good. I'll talk to you soon, Nick.
All right, guys. See y'all.
Nick Moore, everybody.
Thanks, buddy.
Good kid. Yeah, that was what I got in the transcription there. Ravens, terrible team, not a lot of talent, can't do a lot right. But in all seriousness, this team's going to be just fine. They're going to be great.
The Ravens are fine.
The Ravens are fine here. You know who is not fine? Kevin. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just traded for Malik Neighbors, and now he's injured. So,
Well, maybe that's a good time here as we take our tour. Before we're not spinning the globe yet, then Kevin, but we'll talk a little bit about some of the matchups before we get into the closing with some Ravens talk here. But why don't we take it to the board, guys? And by board, it's not the actual board, scoreboard, scores. Looking at the lineup here. But I think to do that, we got to go and talk to our friends Hollywood Casino up in West Virginia. Pretty good. Hollywood Casino, Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Look, it's an hour from Owings Mills, hour and 15 from downtown Baltimore. And we have a tailgate event coming up with them this fall after the baseball season ends. So stay tuned for that. And if you like complimentary beverages and you use your Penn Play card, you will get complimentary beverages at Hollywood Casino in West Virginia, but only up there in West Virginia. It's not offered in Virginia or Maryland. Download the Penn Play app, and just for downloading it, you have a chance to win up to $2,000 in Penn Play cash. They've been great to us. We have so much in store with them. And as always, you want a good steak, go up there. But Kevin, disallowed, because you know what I was seeing, Kevin? People were talking about marinating steak and all the preparation that goes into making a good steak. And then I'm thinking, if it gets to you, then what's all the prep for? You know, it doesn't matter.
People can still enjoy it medium well. It's not like I'm doing it like all the way burnt.
Oh, it's pretty close.
The steak, because look, I don't want to like all the red and all that. I don't want that. Like a little red is okay, but the crispiness of it is what I'm going for. Speaking of, I actually had one of the worst ad reads of my life yesterday, which thankfully was scraped from the internet. But we had to determine what food the Ravens would be.
Oh my God.
And I didn't see it in the initial read. And so I said, the Ravens, just thinking on the fly, they're chips because they're crunchy.
Okay.
And so I redid that one.
So NFL scores here for
You're welcome.
The scoreboard. Goodness gracious, what? Kevin.
Chips?
I ended up going with Tabasco because they have a kick to them and they're spicy.
Okay.
And I felt proud about that.
Still not a food. Still not a food.
Well, it was game day essential.
Still not a food.
Game day essential.
It's not my okay.
Old Bay, which I have eaten before.
All right, let's go around here at some games that we think are going to be important for week 2 here, guys. Week 1 was fantastic. First one kicks off tonight. Bills, Dolphins, rivals in the AFC East. Brad, you had a pretty strange stat here with Tua as it comes to playing some AFC East opponents.
Yeah, he's actually 10-0 versus the Patriots and the Jets, but he's 1-6 versus Josh Allen and the Bills. That is a pretty incredible stat. Now, the Dolphins are actually favored today, I think, by 3.5 points, if I'm not mistaken, unless that's changed. But it's interesting to see that they're favored tonight when Tua has that kind of record versus Josh Allen. Now, I will say that it's a little bit of a different story now with that Miami defense. We did see them struggle a little bit last week versus the Jaguars, but really cranked it up and turned it on in the second half and came back after being down 14-0 last week. So I think that there is going to be some interesting interesting game. It's going to be an exciting game for one. I can't wait to watch it. But I think that, in my opinion, Tua goes 2-7 or 2-6.
So you think they're getting the dub here tonight? And
they're going to get the dub.
It's a big game, though, for both teams. Everyone's still on the Josh Allen bandwagon here, and I understand why. Look, Josh Allen, great player, had the 4 touchdowns in the first week. We know the talent.
Mm-hmm.
But they're trying to really make the emphasis now, you got rid of your number 1 wide receiver. Like, that's the big talking point here for the Bills. Josh Allen has played well against Buffalo or versus Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Very well.
Yeah. He also, Josh Allen, 6-0 career on Thursday Night Football.
So what you're saying is that something's got to give.
Something's got to give.
But you know what also we have to figure out or hold your breath on here? Something's got to give in the fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
Devon Achane
Mm-hmm.
is a game time decision. So maybe that's Jeff Wilson Jr. time. I have both right now. It's killing me. I don't know what
Devon.
to do. But
You got to start your stars.
So I've
but he might not play.
Well, I mean, if he doesn't play, then I think Jalen Wright is the more intriguing one.
Yeah.
But
So here's what I've decided. I am more terrified of, especially if Devon Achane plays, I'm more terrified of him dropping 30 points on my bench than I am of him dropping 2 points in my starting lineup. Like, I would rather my star play and he just puts a dud out there and be like, well, back to the drawing board, than try to outsmart myself and be like, oh, he's going to get limited touches. He's going to do this. And then he gets 3 touchdowns. He puts up 30 points. And I'm like, I have Isaiah Likely on my bench again.
Yeah, I did that last week with DeAndre Hopkins. I drafted him in 20 leagues. Not an exaggeration, by the way, literally 20 leagues. And I started him in almost every one, even though I knew he was only going to have a limited snap share. But I'm like, if he ends up going off and scoring a touchdown and I start Curtis Samuel or something over him and he has a dud, at least I can live with DeAndre Hopkins being the play.
Go with your stars.
So I go with the stars.
Put your ball in the stars' hands.
I drafted him
try
for
to
a
go
reason.
win it. Thank you.
You say put your ball or balls in the stars.
The ball, singular.
Got it.
Put the ball in your stars.
So we got Brad taking the Dolphins tonight. You got Buffalo, Zach, is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Buffalo. Miami. I think something's got to give, and maybe because I have the Dolphins players. Oh, I have James Cook too.
Yuck.
I do think this would be the time. I think the Dolphins should win this game. If they're not, it's the same narrative all the time. Can the Dolphins beat good quality teams? But Buffalo's had their number. Like, I don't feel good about this. I think that Buffalo very well could extend and win this game. But if the Dolphins still have Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and the weapons, give me the weapons over what the Bills have. But I do think James Cook has a baller game. I'm going over on the rush or total yards for him, 83.5. Book that, lock that in.
I think the way that I'm thinking of it with picking the Bills is either I'm right and the Bills win and it's like, nice, got that right. Or Josh Allen loses this game and I can be like, huh, Josh Allen can't win big games.
Yeah, you're just waiting to play both sides.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Hey, Brad, do we have a poll on that too?
What's that?
For that game?
We do. I put it up a little earlier, but actually, it was like one of the first ones. Let me scroll back up here.
Oh, it's okay. I just knew we had it out there, so I want to see what our audience was thinking.
So 70% of our viewers say that the Bills are going to win tonight. Dolphins at 30%. So pretty obviously overwhelming majority think that the Bills are going to win. But here's my thing: the Bills barely beat the Cardinals. They were down 17-3. I mean, and then Josh Allen obviously did what Josh Allen does, scores 4 touchdowns all by himself. I think you can't do that against a team like the Dolphins. If the Dolphins start going off like crazy, Tyreek Hill's doing Tyreek Hill things, it's going to be a lot harder to come back from if you let the lead get away from you like that. And it looks like it's going to be some weather as well. So we'll see what happens.
I think that benefits Buffalo. If it's weather and they can, Tua is great when it's 70 and sunny. Second, we get a little wet football. We get a little chill in the air.
Hot and humid.
So we will see what happens in this game. We'll see. We got a lot of people. We got, again, Zach's on Buffalo, and the rest of the three of us are on
Bills Mafia, baby.
Miami. Now another game. Let's go to the AFC North here. All right. And the biggest one that's probably taking place as far as in the AFC is Chiefs versus Bengals. And look, the Bengals probably had the most shocking loss in week 1. And Kevin, you had the stat that Zach Taylor is brutal in week 1 and 2 as a head coach in general. Joe Burrow was off to a slow start. His receivers did not help him out, but their game plan was not the best, and especially a game that they were favored by more than a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken, in this game, and you end up losing outright. That's a tough look. But then they're also dealing with contract situations with Jamar Chase. And actually, Stephen A. Smith really blasted the Bengals ownership over the situation currently going on with Jamar Chase. So let's play that for a second.
You are listening to a guy and looking at a guy right now who hopes Cincinnati loses every single damn game they play until they sign that man and they give him his money. I hope that the Cincinnati Bengals fall flat on their damn face. That organization makes me sick. This man, Mike Brown, here you are. You got Joe Burrow, who is an all-world quarterback, won a national championship at LSU, came into the NFL. He got injured his first year as a rookie. His second year, he comes back. His third year, he comes back. And all he does is go to back-to-back AFC championship games. This is an organization that spent years having fans wear bags over their head. They wanted to, this is how horrid they were with his notoriously cheap-ass self, okay? He was considered the damn Donald Sterling of the National Football League. And here you are, you luck up. You get a guy like Joe Burrow on your squad who flat out balls, and doesn't matter who he goes up against. You pay him his money, but then gonna give a problem to the people that he utilizes as his primary weapons. Yeah. We know T. Higgins is hurt, but the bottom line is T. Higgins was looking for his money. You didn't pay him, you should have paid him too. Jamar Chase is one of the top receivers in the National Football League. Are we going to deny that, Dan Orlovsky or Jason?
No,
are we going to deny that? Jamar Chase is one of the top ballers in this game. That man deserves his money. He goes out there, he performs, he's focused. Joe Burrow utilizes him as a top weapon. He will talk smack to you, then he will get on the field and back it up. And that's one of the things that I'm sure RC and Swagoo will love what I'm about to say. It's one of the favorite things that I love about these cats from LSU. They talk a lot of smack against each other and compete against each other. You see what I'm saying? It's Odell Beckham Jr., it's Justin Jefferson, it's Jamar Chase, it's all of these cats. They talk about, and they're literally friendly, competing against one another about who's going to show out. And all of them can ball. All of them. And so you've got Joe Burrow out there as your quarterback. How the hell are you going to take care of the quarterback, but don't take care of what helps the quarterback be great?
So that's kind of the gist of it, of saying, hey, pay the man with Jamar Chase. Now Jamar Chase is still under contract for guys this season and next season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And also, I guess the point is to try to get ahead of what the deals are going to be as the salary cap continues to increase. I mean, guys, there's no – just being objective, those are good players. I mean, Joe Burrow, good player. Jamar Chase, good player. The Bengals, I don't feel bad about this situation because – that's something with an organization that they have. This is a problem they have to deal with. And guess what? It doesn't matter. You're choosing not to pay Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase isn't choosing to sign. You got to go play Kansas City with your team that you're dealing with. That's the reality of it. That is a game to watch, especially Chiefs are feeling good. They got 10 days off playing Cincy. It's in KC, correct, for this game?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I will also say too that I think Joe Burrow is 4-1 against Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Somebody fact check me on that, but I think he does have a
3 or 4-1. It's 3-1 or 4-1 for sure. And so that's a storyline here. I mean, look, the Bengals have matched up well against Kansas City. He's 3-1. We got the fact check. Thank you, Kevin. We got our fact check here. And yes, so I don't feel bad about it, but that's one that we're all watching. How's this Kansas City offense look this next week? Can the Bengals offense bounce back against this Kansas City defense? And I'll tell you what, I'm sure that the run game will get figured out for Cincinnati, but do you think that they missed Joe Mixon in week 1? Having 100%. Zach Moss and Chase Brown, it's no knock to them. Joe Mixon was a beast in the opener for Houston. And that's a big weapon. I think Joe Mixon being out is going to hurt more than they are to lead on. Especially, it looks like T. Higgins still isn't healthy. He's not going to be – if he does play, he's not going to be fully healthy.
Was just about to say that. Also, I don't think that Joe Burrow is healthy either. There was some footage of him kind of like nursing that wrist a little bit on the sidelines. And as we all know, we've seen this year in and year out with Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They're always a slow starter. Last year, they didn't start off great either. But you don't want to go 0-2. It doesn't matter what team you are. You don't want to go 0-2. And I think that there's a real possibility the Bengals do that this week.
if you're a Ravens fan, you're very hoping that happens. And you hope Kansas City does the team a solid and takes care of business there. And this AFC North is going to be competitive, Kev. I mean, we're looking at it. It's a division where, yeah, the Browns look bad, but I think they play the Ravens tough with that defense that they have. I think Deshaun should get better. He did beat the Ravens in Baltimore last year. Granted, that defense was a big part of that as well for Cleveland. And guys, I'm taking KC. Are we KC across the board here, or anyone thinks Cincy wins?
I don't care who the Bengals are playing. It's week 2. I'm taking the other team, and that's Kansas City. Zach Taylor, 1-10 in weeks 1 and 2 over the course of his career.
1-10.
Expected to be 1-11 after this week.
Goodness gracious. How about that? Brad, you in on KC?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
KC all the way there. Look, the last one in the AFC. We'll get to more games for our pregame show on Sunday, which join us. 9:30, we're kicking off here, and we're going to start our giveaway program with Deep Eddie, which is going to be great. Our first crush, actually, of making a crush here at the bar. We'll have a lot more football coverage on Sunday. But last game we're going to talk about for now is in the AFC North. It's the other team, Pittsburgh Steelers. Not going to worry about Cleveland and the Browns as much. The Steelers one has more intrigue at the moment. Why? It looks like Justin Fields is starting again. Dan Orlovsky commented on it that if Justin Fields doesn't have to be superb to keep this job. So let's play that clip right now.
Going to Denver this weekend, if they find a way to win this game and their offense is functional enough, you don't look back. Because one, I think
just functional enough.
That's the bar. Hear me out. I think one, this would be the lowest scoring game in the NFL this weekend.
Yeah. Pittsburgh, Denver.
Yeah. 2, who's one of the best corners in football?
Pat Surtain.
Okay, so Surtain's going to go on George Pickens. And Denver's defense, the only reason Seattle beat them was because Geno threw 4 or 5 balls that are just absolutely remarkable. So Denver's defense is going to go, George Pickens, you're out. Or at least 50-50.
Yeah.
So Justin beat us a different way. And I think if Justin finds a way and this offense finds a way, because, again, I think Denver's defense is darn good, finds a way to score enough points, their defense will keep them in it. That's when you sit there as an offense and as a coach, and I think you go, all right, we just played against one good defense in Atlanta and one really good defense in Denver, and we're 2-0. And this is just the beginning. I'm good enough.
Quick final.
Needs to be functional. We can just take that off. Whoop. Does it want to leave the screen? There it is. It's off. Justin Fields being functional with his offense. We guys all know having a rushing upside, and he didn't lose the game for Pittsburgh against Atlanta. Took care of the football for the most part. Kind of pedestrian numbers. He did get the ball to George Pickens, and he ran a ton. And they were up, and they kind of played to that strength of that defense. But Pittsburgh's going to have a realistic chance here, guys. And Denver with a rookie quarterback. I expect I'm taking Pittsburgh in this game, but the biggest storyline for me is Justin Fields going to end up just taking that job from Russell Wilson? If they're 2-0 and on the Steelers, personally, I think that's a harder one to game plan against. And for Pittsburgh, that might be the best option if they win this game.
Yeah. Russell Wilson, as soon as he didn't start week 1, unfortunately, Russell Wilson's career as a starter in the National Football League came to an end. I don't know if, unfortunately, he didn't play well enough to really earn that last year. But it's Justin Fields' job until Justin Fields loses it. And if they keep winning, I completely agree with Dan. It doesn't have to be pretty football. It doesn't have to be good football. It has to be good enough. And just I've been saying it since they acquired Justin Fields. It made absolutely zero sense to have Russell Wilson as your starting quarterback. You have to see what Justin Fields, who is on the last year of his contract, his only year in Pittsburgh right now, you have to see what you had in the kid. And he gives you the highest upside. A 36-year-old Russell Wilson is not turning back into the 28-year-old MVP caliber Russell Wilson who was leading Seattle with great defenses to Super Bowls. You know, he's limited in what he can do. Justin Fields, you brought it up with his rushing ability alone. They can play into the hands of their defense. They can go out. They just have to. I think they dismantle Denver this week. And it's not because the offense is going to be stellar. It's not because it's going to be the defense. The defense is going to put Bo Nix in a blender. And I don't think he has any chance, unfortunately. But it's just about Justin Fields doing what he did last week. Don't turn the ball over. Get into field goal range and just give this team opportunities to win. And Mike Tomlin's teams, more often than not, have found ways to do that. So I'm taking Pittsburgh pretty handily.
Well, there's one thing here. Pittsburgh can win these ugly games. You're like, how are they winning? But they can lose to anybody. So it's really going to be dictated and early on. But Kevin, Brad, or Kev, you going Pittsburgh here or Denver?
Yeah, I'm taking Pittsburgh. I think that defense can, hold their own against Bo Nix, who I didn't think looked great in week 1.
Poor Bo Nix.
I'm taking Pittsburgh. I still expect it to be somewhat low scoring. I don't expect to see those offense to go out there and put up 30 points or anything. But I think Pittsburgh will start the season 2-0.
Yeah, I should clarify when I say dismantle, I still understand that both these offenses are not great. So dismantle, I'm talking like
over and under
17 to 3.
Over and under is 36.5.
Oh, I don't know if they get to that.
There it is.
Poor Bo Nix though. You start out with a Mike McDonald defense, then you go and you have to face the Steelers and TJ Watt. I mean, it's just
builds character.
How can you not be romantic about football? Brad, who do you got?
Oh, it's the Steelers. I'm with Zach on this. There's one thing that is a constant with the Steelers, or a consistency as far as that's concerned, and that is TJ Watt and that defense. It's kind of a crime that he hasn't been a defensive player of the year yet. But I will say this too: if somehow, some way, the running game for the Broncos actually turns up and they're able to wear down that Steelers defense, the Broncos could come out with a dub here. And it is in Denver, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would not be a shocker if the Broncos won, but I'm going to take the Steelers.
Wouldn't be a shocker, but we'll find out. You know what it would be a shocker is if the Raiders come into Baltimore and beat the Ravens. And if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this every Monday and Thursday live at 3 p.m. And on Sunday, we'll be in here for a kickoff pregame show at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time as we get ready for the Ravens game later that day and for NFL Sunday. Please join us for that. And we'll have chances at some giveaways. First one being with Deep Eddy and Gridiron Golf as well. In Gridiron Golf, we've already had Ben McDonald win our subscribers one game. We'll let you know how to enter with a chance to win Gridiron Golf here in the future. But guys, the Raiders are coming to town. Let's close with this for the day. Raiders coming to town. It's a game where Baltimore is going to be favored, obviously, and pretty significantly. If we're looking at the numbers right now, the Ravens are 8.5-point favorites according to the books. So should be feeling good. And we talked with Nick Moore about Lamar Jackson a little bit. Well, guess what? The star player on the offense for the Las Vegas Raiders, Devontae Adams, had a lot of kind things and kind words specifically about the star quarterback of Baltimore. So let's play that for you guys.
Out of Lamar Jackson throughout his career.
Well, he's who I think I mentioned it to y'all. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but going into my 21 season, I felt like that was an area, broken tackles was an area that I really wanted to focus on and push and make better. And I was literally finding myself watching Lamar Jackson highlights in my locker before the games. Dude changed the game. He's the best, in my opinion, best ball carrier ever. No matter what position you want to talk about, I don't think anybody's as big of a threat carrying the football. So, and obviously he's worked really hard to develop in the other parts of his game as well, and you've seen that come a long way too. So he's a huge threat. Somebody you got to be accountable for out there, and make sure you know what he's doing, and getting on the film of that. And obviously, I don't have to worry about that. But he's a hell of a football player.
So right there, game recognizing game, and the cool thing is that one of the star receivers is trying to look at part of Lamar's game, and it's no secret when Lamar has the ball in his hands, one of the best creators in football. If there's any open field, there's probably, I don't know if you can put a lot of people ahead of Lamar Jackson who you'd want in the open field. The guy's electric, he's elusive, and he's won a lot of football games in this league, Kev. But it doesn't seem like he always gets the credit he deserves consistently, right? It feels like we're having the conversation over and over again. We just talked about the Bengals, talking about how the credit that Joe Burrow gets. And I mean, I think even some of the reporters recently, James Jones came to the defense of Lamar Jackson, if I'm not mistaken. Do you have that quote handy by any
chance?
Well,
there are actually about 3 or 4 of them from James
baby
Jones. Yeah, he ended up going to bat for other quarterbacks. Didn't name Lamar by name, but essentially when talking about Joe Burrow, said, "Look, I mean, there are a lot of quarterbacks in the league that have dealt with injuries, and we don't care anything about those. But somehow with Joe Burrow, and obviously the wrist being the big injury point for him, all of a sudden we care about it a lot." And that was today. Yesterday, he talked about it because the Bengals, are they in trouble? We talked about that a little bit earlier. And he was making a point of a couple of different things, but was saying, well, if it was any other quarterback, we wouldn't be sitting here and saying, "Oh man, if this happened, if that happened, if this happened." No. I mean, essentially, James Jones said he has to play better and put him up in the category of a lot of those other quarterbacks. Actually, funny enough, name Mahomes and Allen and not Lamar in that conversation. But still, it's a matter of with Lamar, and it's not limited to, but I think it's the loudest with Lamar. The mistakes are magnified, and for other quarterbacks such as Joe Burrow, and James Jones essentially said that, he's been mediocre over the past year and a half, and stuff that we haven't really heard about Joe Burrow before in the national media waves. But for Lamar Jackson, we hear stuff like this all the time. So I think for a lot of people who, cover the Ravens fans, Lamar fans, it's, I don't even know what the word is, but it feels like now other fan bases like the Bengals maybe understand a little bit what the Ravens go through when Lamar's talked about this way.
It's a constant battle with it. And people can say, you're being biased in Baltimore. No, we're not. Every time that the Ravens lost to the Chiefs, and everyone's looking at all the things that Lamar did wrong. And Lamar had chances to win the game for the team or to make a throw here at the end or whatever you want to call it. But the team is not in the game without Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was sensational that entire game up until a couple moments, but the Ravens aren't where they are without the 2-time MVP.
Ryan Clark put it perfectly. Actually, he tweeted out during the Chiefs-Ravens game. He said there is only one quarterback on earth who could keep the Baltimore Ravens in that game the way they were playing. He said, lucky for them, he was under center for him.
Yeah.
It's what Lamar, and speaking of Davante Adams, I mean, of course he's going to say that. They're future teammates. I'm going to speak into existence Davante at the trade deadline. Just going to make it happen. But yeah, Davante, I like you said, Rip, it is kind of cool that one of the best receivers of the last 20, 25 years. I mean, Davante Adams at his peak to this day still best route runner I've ever seen. And just talk about hands of, if Rodgers, especially with him, put it anywhere near him, didn't matter if it was on the sideline, Davante was coming down with it. But for him to say, even later on in his career, 2021, it's not like he was a rookie or anything. He's like, hey, I'm watching Lamar Jackson highlights because that's how much he's changed the game. And even at someone in a completely different position is like, sits back, and it's so funny. You talk to all the talking heads, all the Twitter people. It's all, Lamar Jackson can't do this. Lamar Jackson can't do that. Then you talk to the people that compete against him, and they're in awe every time. They're like, people don't understand how special he is.
Well, and speaking of that, then why don't we go to another video, which was just talked about, where we talked about Davante Adams being one of the best wide receivers in the game. How about currently still got the title, best tight end, Travis Kelce? They just played Lamar Jackson. Travis and Jason talked on New Heights about what it's like to prepare for Lamar Jackson.
Block him in the first half. He was just like edging guards left and right.
That's Chris Jones for you.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good. He also had a strip sack on Lamar in the second quarter. Here's that clip.
Lamar has got to be the hardest quarterback in the NFL to prepare for. He is, not only is their run game so damn good, but then you have to, account for him in the run game. Not only you got to account for Derrick Henry coming downhill with Ricard blocking for him. It's like you got to account for everybody in the backfield there. And then on top of that, he can throw it. He's a passer now. He is 100% a passer. I know he had the one in the end of the game where he sailed it over.
He missed that one, but I mean, he was
he missed that
point
one,
for most of the game.
And it just so happened to be in a big moment. But he's making that throw 9 times out of 10.
He followed that one up with the likely catch, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So he was on the money there. It just like
dialed it in. Yeah.
Anyways,
And when you're preparing for a guy like that, either you have a guy with similar like talents, which is like getting the Walmart version of him. And, you know, there's nobody in the league that you could ever put back there on from your team that is going to simulate how good Lamar is. So you just put a wide receiver whenever you're doing the read option stuff, you put him at quarterback and try and insinuate the speed that he has. But then on top of that, it's like, you got to now figure out how you're going to stop him with his arm.
Right.
Isaiah Likely had an amazing game, happy as hell for him. Tight end you guy.
Yeah.
And it's just so hard to that Baltimore offense, man. Once they get rolling, which I'm sure they will these next couple of weeks, man, that team's going to be really, really good going into the playoffs.
So right there. And also, so Uncle Rico stated, for those that get the reference there, and Brad, bring you on for a second. It just further validates as one of the best players in the league. Just won against them. Jason Kelce, one of the best centers to ever play the game and a great football mind. You're hearing constantly the headache of what Lamar does. And they did mention he missed one throw that Lamar went back, but he followed it up with a dot, misses it by a toe, and the Ravens lose the game. But it's just always cool when you get validation from your peers about just how good you are.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Yeah, the Chiefs did come out with the win, but I would make the argument that Lamar actually had a better game than Patrick Mahomes did. Patrick Mahomes almost had 2 interceptions, did have that one by Simpson, which, by the way, we haven't talked enough about. I can't wait till we talk more about him on Sunday pre-game. By the way, make sure you're there on this channel at 9:30 a.m. on Sunday. We will be covering that and talking about Trenton Simpson. I think the players is the words that I'm going to take the most to heart, and each and every one of them have nothing. I mean, we heard from Devontae Adams, we heard from Travis Kelce, we hear from a lot of other players just about how incredible Lamar is, and you'd almost have to think that many of these players would make the argument that there is a Lamar Jackson versus Mahomes and who's kind of better, like as far as athlete and quarterback. Obviously, one's got way more rings than the other, but it is a team sport. And you look at the overall individual performance of Thursday's game, and you could make the argument that Lamar had a better game that night.
Oh, no, he definitely had a better game that night. The Chiefs executed better than the Baltimore Ravens. That's what it came down to. Chris Jones, game wrecker. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and that team, that offense, they made plays. Xavier Worthy made it count on the reverse, and obviously then there was the blown coverage. The Ravens just didn't execute as well as they could have, but that's why the Chiefs won. But Lamar did everything he possibly could, and I think that's the point that we always bring up here. But I liked it, and also Jason Kelce is going to be awesome on Monday night countdowns.
Oh yeah,
the fact that he forgot his suitcase and he's just like, yep, feel like I got my. I think he said, I feel like I got my tits out.
Yeah,
I think is what he said verbatim. I feel like Kevin says that a lot in the studio off air.
Wouldn't you know? You're here all the time.
That's a joke.
Kevin. Kevin, it's okay. I was gonna say it's okay. It's okay. You're a good kid, Kev. Hey, Brad, I think it's a good time. Then I think Kevin just wants to spin his damn globe.
I do. That's why I've been waiting for the whole show.
Spin the globe.
I think you can spin it, Kevin, from to the window to the wall till.
I mean, I know it, but I'm not going to say it. All right, here we go. Ready? We landed in the ocean. Hold on.
Oh, well, which ocean?
I forget. Here we go. Peru.
Ooh.
I love me some
Machu Picchu action.
I love some Peruvian food.
Actually,
too.
I think I was right on Lima. So
Yep.
Let's do some. I looked up Peru stats. I'm so used to typing in stats.
Peru stats, baby.
Peru
This
facts.
this segment will be brought to you by like AAA or something.
We got to get
to.
we'll get a sponsor, a travel sponsor. Have to. What do you got, Kevin? What can you do in Peru?
All right. Well, first of all, Peru is the 3rd largest country in South America. That comes after both Brazil and Argentina. So Peru coming in at number 3. Has a bunch of mountains, beaches, deserts, rainforests, a lot of different terrain. And they actually, most of the people live along the coast. So, where Lima is located, which is the capital, by the way. So I landed right on the capital. Let's see. The Amazon covers nearly half of Peru, and the second highest mountain range in the world actually runs through Peru, the Andes Mountains.
Ever heard of it?
I have.
Have you heard of Andes chocolate too? Andes mint?
They are a beautiful thing.
They are delicious too. But
they're
Peru's a place I haven't been yet. I definitely would like to go.
Peruvian chicken.
Yeah, Brad mentioned
Peruvian chicken is delightful.
The Machu Picchu, Roquan, Ronnie Stanley, and who else went with them?
Marlon.
Was it Marlon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, the three of them went there. Let's see. Oh, do we got animals? Okay, wider variety of plants and animals. The mountaintops and the mountains, they end up actually growing special types of grasses and plants, and that provides food for things like llamas, alpacas.
I was going to say, I knew they had llamas.
Alpacas are, you know what? I saw an alpaca that was living out north of Baltimore, and I swear, driving to school every day, it was just fenced in, a nice fence and a nice yard, and that thing would just stare every single time as I was in the car. No way it knew that I was driving by, but it felt like it. That thing just kept staring, teeth out all the time. Those things, apparently, alpacas can get a little bit
feisty.
Feisty.
Yeah.
They'll spit on you.
Friendly. Yeah, they'll spit on you, Kev.
Yeah.
I've never seen one in person.
You never got spit on by an alpaca?
I have not, no. But if you've ever had things like ceviche, pisco sours, quinoa, potatoes, have you ever had potatoes or have you had chocolate before?
I've dabbled.
Peru is famously known for that. So if you haven't, I recommend.
Okay, just so I understand, you asked if I had potatoes or chocolate.
If you've ever, maybe you haven't. I don't know.
I'm the one that asked you if you had, and you know what?
I know I've eaten potatoes, and I know everybody else knows I've eaten potatoes.
You've eaten potatoes. Yeah. You've eaten potatoes. You are a good kid, Kevin. But
I think they're known for like their special potatoes, like purple potatoes and stuff.
Oh,
not just like regular
potatoes on here. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Doesn't Japan, and this will be for a different time, isn't the Japanese sweet potatoes, isn't that a thing?
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
They're delicious. They're fantastic.
So, have you had a pisco sour before?
A pisco sour?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I never even heard of that.
It's a drink. It's made with a great brandy, which is pisco, lime juice, simple syrup, and egg white.
Oh, I have. It's good.
Oh, so it's a whiskey sour with brandy. That's all.
Yes, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah. So that's a drink Peru is famous for.
You know, Matt, this will be fun when we get our Winnebago and we get our RV sponsor, whatever it may be for next year. Then maybe we'll extend it. We'll go to Mexico, like we said, to go.
You know those videos where someone throws a dart at a map and we go. Well, I'll spin the globe and wherever my finger lands.
And we're there, baby.
But we might start with Major League Baseball next year with stadiums. We'll start there.
I was
just thinking, bro. Like we had like a Hilton would be a good any of the hotels would be a good sponsor for this. AAA, one of them. One of them is watching.
Definitely AAA for roading.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go roading across the country, AAA would definitely be the move there. Guys, I think we're good. This is good timing. Great show. But guys, on Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, we will be right back here for a special pregame show. The Ravens and the Raiders are going to be kicking off at 1 p.m., but we're starting our day early. We'll have a nice hour and a half to 2 hour show for you all. We got our first Deep Eddie giveaway being a part of it. We're going to be making crushes. This is an experience. We're going to have up-to-date information on the Ravens and Raiders game, but we also want to make this a fun time because football Sundays are fun. That's what it's about. We're about having a good time here. We appreciate all of you guys. And also coming up in the future, we're going to have a little breakdown. If you guys loved the breakdowns with Q, and we have a few more in the works then, Kev, tomorrow. And check out social media so we can get your guys' questions answered. Zach, I think it's time we cue the music. Thoughts? There we go. As always here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Have a day. Have a night. Enjoy yourself. Be safe. And we will talk to you soon.